Hi, my name is Chris and this is Battle Nonsense. I've now spent 26 hours with the beta of Battlefield Hardline, where I tried out the game modes and different playstyles. And I'd like to share with you now what I think about Hardline at this point. Since I didn't get a beta key until this Friday night, I was using accounts of other players who were so kind to let me use theirs for testing. So don't wonder when you see different names in the footage and that my personal account still has a very low rank. So what will follow here is my personal opinion about the beta and the future of this game. Unlike the beta for Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4, this is really a beta, as it was released 4 months before the release. So it is full of bugs and balance issues, but that is to be expected. That EA and Visceral released a beta so early was a surprise. This is definitely a very welcome change. Now where do we start with this? Let's start with the first thing you see when you play the game. Battle log. On PC this is your entry point for Hardline. If you played Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4 or Medal of Honor, then this will be very familiar, as it is just a reskinned version of what you get in the other games. You can customize your loadout, check your stats and search for servers. Sadly, nothing new or special to see here. How about the in-game menus? Now, I do know that this is a beta, but I don't really like the menu design. In my opinion, it looks quite cheap and still rough. It is also using a lot of elements we know from Battlefield 4's menu, and this makes it look even cheaper. The loadout menu in Hardline looks a bit different to that what we know from Battlefield 4. In Hardline the menu has clearly been designed to be used with a gamepad, but it is still quite usable with the mouse. Hardline uses the same 4-class system Battlefield 4 does. We have an Assault, we have an Engineer, Support and Recon. Only the names changed a bit in Hardline. When you select your class, you will notice this little icon here with a number next to it. This icon tells you which class is already used by your squad members and how many of your squad members are using a specific class. This feature we already had in Battlefield 1942, and since then it was not included in any Battlefield game anymore. So this is one of those little touches Visceral did in Hardline, which I really appreciated. What I really like in Hardline is that when you play the game you earn money, and then you can spend that money on weapons and gadgets. This means that if you want weapon D, you do not have to buy weapon A, B and C first. If you have the money, you can just go and buy weapon D. When you look at the attachments for the weapons, which are very similar to Battlefield 4, then you see that you can't simply buy any of these with money. You need to unlock this, as you know, from Battlefield 4. When you're looking at the primary weapons in Battlefield Hardline, then you see a lot of familiar weapons we all know from Battlefield 4. When you're looking at the gadgets, then you see that Visceral got a lot more creative here. We have stuff like baseball bats and tasers. If you played the Special Forces add-on for Battlefield 2, then you will like to see the return of zip lines, grappling hooks, gas masks and tear gas. And of course you can customize the vehicles in the game, but just like the attachments, you need to play with the vehicles to get more unlocks. You cannot buy these with the in-game money you earn. So what game modes do we have in the beta? There is Blood Money and Heist. In Blood Money, there's a pile of cash in the center of the map, and each team has his own vault. So the teams run into the center of the map, grab some cash and bring it back to their vault. The first team that brings back a specific amount of money wins the round. You can also steal money out of the vault from the other team. This game mode actually makes quite a lot of fun, but only if both teams play the objective. Otherwise the round is over in just a few minutes. Did you notice that I didn't mention that one of the teams are the cops? This is because Blood Money feels more like robbers against robbers, as both take the money from the depot and get it back to their vault, as well as taking the money from the other team's vault. If you play robbers or cops, does not really make any difference at all. I think they should have made this a robber versus robber mode that goes against time, so that you have like two gangs which try to get the money. The team which has the most money when the timer ends and when the police arrives wins. Or they could have tried to make this a free faction mode. So you have two robber teams trying to steal the money from the depot and from each other, and then you have the third faction, the cops, or better SWAT, which tries to stop both robber teams. You could compare this to Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, where the racers are fighting each other to finish first, and the cops tried to stop the race. I think that this would spice up the game mode pretty much. Heist, on the other hand, works quite well as cops versus gangsters. The gangsters have to break up two armored trucks, which works like arming an MCOM in Rush. The cops have time to disarm these explosives. Once an explosive goes off, the robbers need to take the package out of the vehicle and bring it to one of the two extraction points. And just like in Obliteration, the package carrier lights up like a Christmas tree the whole time for everyone on the server. If the cops manage to stop the robber who has the package, then he will drop it. Then the cops need to move up close to the dropped package and secure it. This works like capturing a flag in Conquest. Once they secured the package, it will disappear from the map. Also, just like in Blood Money, the round can be over in a matter of minutes if the robbers get a bit teamwork done. So that are the game modes in the beta. They are both fun to play if your teammates actually play the objective and not crash land the full transport helicopter on a roof because they want to camp there. How about the map design? When I first joined the server, I did miss civilians. At least at the beginning of the round, it would have been nice to see them run away. If someone has the stupid idea of shooting a civilian, then the civilians should either not be affected by these shots, or the player shooting and killing a civilian should get a massive negative score for that. Another nice touch would have been to see civilians behind the windows of some of the buildings. Again, not allowed to shoot them, so in example when you aim at them you could just let them hide inside their room. This would create a much more believable game world, as it now feels strangely empty. The map offers a lot of alternate routes, which is very good. It also offers verticality. I very rarely felt that my team was pushed into a position where it couldn't get out again. The only times this happened was where none of my teammates were interested to play the objective. There are also enough vehicles on the map to be able to quickly get from A to B. What I also liked about the map is that it is quite large, bigger than I expected, to be honest. With 32 players all playing the objective, the map size is pretty perfect. But I don't want to see 64 players on that map, which Hardline also seems to support. So the beta obviously has a lot of bugs and balancing issues, but that's okay as it is really a beta and there are still 4 months until this game is released. But there are still a few things I want to talk about specifically. When you press Q on your keyboard, then as we all know you bring up the com rows. But in Hardline they added another layer on top of it. If you have enough points and press Q, then you can select a perk. And only after you did that you will be able to bring up the com rows. So if you are in a helicopter and want to shout "Get out!", then you can't do that because you have to select that perk before. So this is not an ideal solution. And now let's have a look at the issues that were all inherited from Battlefield 4. Let's start with the HUD. We have all seen it. We have all suffered from it. The mass of icons and name tags on your screen can completely hide players. So you get shot by people who are right in front of you, but you can't see them. Or you think someone is from your team because he has a friendly name tag above his head. But it is a player from the other team, and one of your teammates was just standing behind him. Visceral did not bother to redesign the HUD. Not only should they have redesigned the HUD to fix the issues from Battlefield 4, but also to give this game its own design and character. They just continued to use what they got from Battlefield 4. This just increases the impression that you are playing a Battlefield 4 add-on, rather than a standalone title. We can only hope that they use the time they have available until the release and address these problems. And then there's the netcode. Obviously Hardline is using the same netcode as Battlefield 4, and this build here does not have the Battlefield 4 changes from the June patch. The final version will have that. But this is very disappointing, because we did hope that with Hardline the Frostbite engine first-person shooters would finally overcome that 30 Hz limitation and let server providers offer us higher rates for a little extra. This does not seem to be happening with Battlefield Hardline. A nice touch is that in the end of round screen you now finally see what the next map and game mode is. But you still have to wait for that damn timer. Before that is up, the game does not even start to load the next map. Yet the Battlefield games before Battlefield 3 all did allow you to look through your stats while the game was loading the next map in the background. You could look through the stats as long as you want. Once you were done, you could click a button and enter the spawn screen for the next map. The reason why this does not work in Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4 and Hardline is that the end of round screen has been located under the map. So the game cannot start to load the next map because it has to destroy the old map first, which it can't because it has the end of round screen inside. So these are a few issues we know from Battlefield 4, and where I was hoping that the next Battlefield title, which now is Hardline, would fix these issues. There are also quite a few bugs and glitches in the Hardline beta, which we all know from Battlefield 4. Many of those issues got fixed in Battlefield 4 since release, so we can hope that those fixes also get included in Hardline for the final. A frequently asked question is how the guns feel in the Hardline beta, if they are more like in Battlefield 3 or if they feel like in Battlefield 4. Now that's actually not so easy to say because of the awesome netcode we have here. So the guns handle one way in 1 minute, and when the netcode freaks out they start to handle differently. So what I did notice is that the bullet travel speed seems to be lower. This means that when you're firing at a moving target, then you need to aim quite far ahead. This feels a little odd, and I hope that this gets changed for the final version of the game. A nice small new feature is that when you hit a player in the head, then the hit marker will turn red. This indicates that you just landed a headshot. A funny side effect of the broken netcode this beta has is that I sometimes shot players in the balls and got the red hit marker and the headshot bonus. In the kill card we also have a nice new addition. There's a damage indicator which shows you where you have been hit. But when you compare this to Ghost Recon, then this looks like something from a small indie game, not an AAA title. I'm wondering if the Battlefield netcode even allows such detailed information about who hit you, where he hit you, and how much damage each hit inflicted. To have such a detailed info in the kill card would be really great and help you to understand why you just died. Especially in situations where you received damage from multiple players, where you had one right in front of you and two other players behind you, and you were wondering how that one player in front of you could take you out so fast. Such detailed informations could help you to understand what just happened. An interesting feature is the following one. If you die, you can inject yourself with something that instantly revives you. Yes, you die and then you inject yourself. In a game where team play does not matter that much and a game which does not take itself very serious, I think that this is an interesting mechanic. When I die, I often wait for the other player to move away from me. Then I inject myself and then I have my revenge. But this also means that you need to watch players you shot because they might just rise again from the dead for round 2. This creates hilarious, funny and rewarding moments in the game. But it also greatly reduces the teamwork aspect of the game and increases people playing as lone wolf and not paying attention to their teammates, as you would have when you could use a defibrillator to revive them and keep them close to the objective. In Hardline, an injection replaces the defibrillator, but why should you take that one when you can use the other one instead, with which you can revive yourself? Similar is another mechanic that you just have to walk up to another player, press the use button and then you get a medkit or an ammo bag from that player. They will just drop that, without having the other player to do anything. Yes, it is a big issue in Battlefield 4 that the majority of players just does not give a shit about their teammates and don't drop ammo and medkits. But instead of trying to find a way to motivate players to take an interest in their teammates and play as a team, you see a mechanic like this, which does the complete opposite. Again, in a game that is not very team focused and does not take itself seriously, this is no problem. Generally speaking, I think that such a mechanic is a fine mechanic if it fits into the game design. But if you read the advertisements for Hardline, then you see that it is advertised as a competitive shooter where team play matters a lot. Sure, you still need to work together to win game modes like Heist and Blood Money, but these changes reduce the requirement of playing as a team even further. So I can't understand why they say that this is a competitive tactical team play shooter and then add mechanics like this. Even more, EA and Visceral keep saying that this is a true Battlefield game. I'm sorry, but this logic does not work for me. Marketing and game design paint two different pictures of the game, at least in my opinion. So what do I think about Hardline after 26 hours playing the beta? It does have great potential. Game modes are fun, map design of that beta map at least we've seen is good, and especially when playing with and against friends, the matches are really thrilling. I like many of the small changes and improvements they have done compared to Battlefield 4. Is it a real Battlefield game? People are debating if Hardline is a real Battlefield game or not. Meanwhile, EA and Visceral are not getting tired to repeat over and over and over and over again that Hardline is a real Battlefield game. And that's why it feels like Battlefield 4. The real question is not if Hardline is a real Battlefield or not. The real question is, why does EA want to sell us a new, real Battlefield game that looks and feels like Battlefield 4 just 1 year after Battlefield 4 has been released? And not just that, Battlefield 4 only recently reached a state in which it should have been released. So why do we already need to get another game that is like Battlefield 4? Do we really need a new full price title that is like Battlefield 4? My answer is no. We do not need that. We didn't even ask for that. What we did ask for is that Battlefield 4 gets fixed and that we get add-ons like a sci-fi themed Battlefield 2142 or a World War II setting, or one add-on that is more like Battlefield 2 with its Special Forces add-on, or something like a Cops vs Gangsters add-on. If what I've seen of Hardline in the beta represents 90% of what the final game will be like, then I have to say that this is not worth 60 euros or dollars if you already own Battlefield 4. There's just too much of Battlefield 4 showing inside Hardline, and this does make the game feel very cheap. I mean, come on, look at all the bugs and design flaws Hardline inherited from Battlefield 4, and all the icons and the other things that were just reused. That has not been done because it has to be a real Battlefield game. That has been done to reduce production costs. As I said in one of my previous videos, I think that it is a mistake that Hardline is a Battlefield game. Simply because 1 year after Battlefield 4 was released, I don't need another Battlefield game. Hardline should have been given another year of development time and be its own new and fresh IP, which does not need to feel like a real Battlefield game, which is allowed to feature a different design, presentation and gameplay, have its own unique character. It really has a lot of potential. Game modes are fun and you have baseball bats and tasers. But right now it seems to be caught in the middle between trying to be something fresh and new and still trying to be a Battlefield game. It feels like we are finally reaching the Call of Duty level in Battlefield, where every year a slightly changed and reskinned version of the last year's game is sold for full price. So if you already own Battlefield 4, then I doubt that you will be satisfied with what you get for 60 bucks. Unless the single player of Hardline is more than 15 hours long and insanely good. That is really the only thing at this point that can save Hardline for me at this price tag. If you did not play Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4, then you might be happy with what you get when you buy Battlefield Hardline. Battlefield 4 owners should be offered to buy just the Hardline multiplayer for 30 bucks. That would be fair in my opinion. Even if you are 100% sure to buy the game based on what you've seen so far, don't pre-order it. When you do that, you just tell the studio and the publisher that what you've seen so far is good enough. Nothing stops them from reducing their efforts on the game and just release a slightly polished version of what you've seen in the beta. Because with your wallet, you told them that this is good enough. Don't give EA your hard-earned money for a product that is still in development. If you do, nothing can stop EA from releasing another train wreck like Battlefield 4 was. Be smart, wait for reviews for the game from sources you can trust. I personally wait for reviews from example The Cynical Brit or Angry Joe, the links are in the description. Because these and a few others are people that I trust. Read the forums and watch videos on YouTube to see what the game is really like on release. I know the urge to play on day one, but reality is that on day one you might not even be able to play it due to launch issues. So better relax, play something else, keep an eye on the game and reviews from sources you trust. If anything, the game will only become cheaper and more stable over time. So this is my opinion on Hardline after playing the beta. I'm really curious to see how this game will turn out in the end, because as I said, it does have a lot of potential. But it is held back by the cheap development, where so much of Battlefield 4 is reused. I would have loved to see Visceral do a cops vs robbers game that does not have the shackles to be a real Battlefield game, whatever that is. If you want to contact me, you can do so by mail or Twitter, the links are in the description. If you like my content, please consider to hit the subscribe button and I might see you next time then. Until then, as always, have a nice day and take care. My name is Chris and this was Battle Nonsense.